It's been a while since we've seen League of Legends drama at this scale. Hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome back to the show. Last time we talked about these three figures, that being Doublelift, Leena, and Reggie. Well, a couple of them were apologizing for the Dardoch leak live on Doublelift stream. Even beyond that, though, I would say some of your biggest drama we have seen in quite some time when you have one of your most prolific names in League of Legends history for North America speaking out against his own organization in TSM, saying straight up, I hope they never win again. I would enjoy watching them never win again, and I hate them. A guy who is now speaking up and saying he hates the very own org that he is a part of. It's crazy where we're at right now. Doublelift on a bit of a rant last night on stream. Here's him saying that he just hates TSM.
Got hot pot with Sword Art, and I think it was between spring and summer split. It was around MSI. And the dude was literally saying that if me and Bjergsen were still playing, we would have 100% won. It's like just unbelievable decisions. I don't know. Every split I'm on TSM, we win, and still like get treated like that. It's just disgusting. It would be a personal pleasure of mine to see TSM never win anything again. Because of how shitty they treated the people who brought them everything. I don't even need to like pray for it. They're just gonna make that happen themselves. What do I play?
Peter.
What? We're trying to be honest here. It's okay to be honest, guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm on TSM. We're in a mutually beneficial situation where I make them money and they make me money being on their network. I don't have to like them to have a, you know, a mutually beneficial situation. But yeah, that kind of explains why I want to come back. It was never my choice to fucking retire in the first place. I never wanted to stop playing. It just feels bad to bitch about, oh, I got fucked all the time. Just make do with whatever situation you're in. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I fucking hate TSM. Mostly because of Andy. I actually remember this now. Yeah, Sword Art called me afterwards and said, I'm coming to TSM. Are you sure? Like he still wanted to play with me. And then he still wanted to play with me. And then I called Andy and told him, yeah, Sword Art still wants to play with me. And I would love to, you know, continue to play for the org. And Andy literally said no, because he's got too much of an ego.
And all of this stemming back to what seems to be behind the scenes, maybe a bit of a blow up between him and Reggie, but even further back to the whole Sword Art deal, which has been talked about time and time again. Was Doublelift forced into retirement like he claims? Did he choose to retire, and what might his future be? Well, it seems that him and Reggie are still butting heads, and now it really comes down to, what side do you believe? Doublelift shares his side of TSM not treating their players very well, even those players who brought them everything. Of course, in light of Bjergsen now returning to competitive play and leaving TSM, it does make you wonder what happened behind the scenes. Will Bjerg or others maybe speak up about their experiences with TSM? This is never a good sign when someone like Doublelift can openly and publicly say these kind of things. You just imagine all your other co-owners out there. You can't imagine Courage saying this about 100 Thieves. You really can't imagine, you know, Nick Merck's New Phase co-owner coming out and saying these kind of things. And those are very different perspectives because those are creators. Those aren't necessarily players who have to deal with some different things like Doublelift might have with TSM. But it's also Reggie taking to a lengthy response on Reddit, which is why I ask you guys, what side do you believe? Because this kind of argument, this weird three-pronged, three-way argument, comes down to what side do you believe most? As a warning for all of you listeners out there, going to be a lengthy Reddit post. You can go check it out yourself instead as well. But Reginald taking to Reddit to say, thoughts on Doublelift. Hi all. There's obviously a lot of attention on Doublelift's feelings about TSM. Unfortunately, he has chosen a public venue to air this negativity. I wanted to make a post to share full transparency as to why we made some of our decisions around Doublelift and rosters in the past. Peter is a good player and one of the best players of all time in NA. Although he is a strong player and leader inside the game, he is really challenging to work with. So for the 2020 offseason, going into it, Bjergsen retired. After hearing the news, Doublelift was unsure whether he also wanted to continue to play. Therefore, we considered many options about what the future of TSM would look like, and our intention and strategy was to rebuild our team. After a few days passed, he reached out and changed his mind and told us that if we were to sign PoE and any other good support player, no matter what language they spoke, key point there, he would play. Otherwise, he would want to look at other teams or retire. Because we still wanted to work with Doublelift, we decided to commit to a strong roster that he wanted to play with rather than using the year to rebuild. We committed to signing PoE and a substantial budget. We're looking to sign Huni, and we're also looking to sign good support players such as Lehens, Sword Art, Palette, or other Korean supports. As the offseason went on, the conversations with Sword Art were going well, and we were in deep negotiations with him. While we were negotiating with Sword Art, we did tell Doublelift that there was a possibility the deal wouldn't happen, and he would have to play with Palette or other Korean supports as plan B. Eventually, we hit a snag, and we're concerned that there was a high possibility that the Sword Art deal may not actually happen. At this time, we reached out to Doublelift about the potential other options, including Palette and players in Korea. Doublelift then expressed that he didn't want to play with non-English speaking players, including our Korean options, even though previously he was okay with such a roster. He explicitly stated that he may not be as motivated if we had to play him in a roster that did not meet a standard of a fully English-speaking roster. This was in November, then every other ADC was locked, and we were 4 hours away from transferring Lost to EG. It's extremely discouraging for both staff and players to work with someone who is constantly ambivalent about whether he wants to play or retire. Therefore, all of our staff and players collectively decided to commit to Lost. After a long negotiation process, we subsequently were able to secure Sword Art. And he goes on to state how there was no ill intent and everyone committed to that decision to being made, and Peter has some misconception, that being Doublelift, that Reggie made this choice out of some malintent towards him. And then finally talks about this year. So why is he publicly speaking out against TSM now that this very offseason? I'm assuming that he's upset because we weren't interested in working with him. He was exploring his options and we're not interested in working with him for these reasons. He's always changing his mind on whether he wants to play or retire. His teammates and coaches don't like working with him, and if he doesn't like you or doesn't agree with your decision making, he flames you publicly. Overall, I'm disappointed about the whole situation, as I already thought we moved on from working with Peter last year, and I didn't know choosing to not work with him this year would result in this post and his feedback about TSM on stream. Either way, even if my assumptions aren't true, there's no reason why he should be flaming us publicly for not wanting to work with him for the 2020 to 2021 LCS season for the stated reasons in this post. In conclusion, we'll start taking steps to part ways with Doublelift. Wowza, and that is one heck of a response from any owner out there, and it just it leaves you wondering which side are you more believing, right? Are you believing the Doublelift side about the treatment of players and maybe that he was wronged out of some malintent by Reggie, or the explanation at length given by Reggie? I'm going to be honest, it's hard not to believe that side of things. And then you throw the third person in there, that's going to be Leena, also giving her side, which is the middleman in all of this, and it's a weird situation to be in, and I don't think I have to say why, because she is now middlemaning between her ex and her boss and her boyfriend, and trying to play both sides, which it complicates things all the more. And she just straight up says, the real truth is you have two dudes who have impossible egos to deal with. It's not Reggie's side or Peter's side. She actually goes on to explain about the Sword Art deal, that apparently Doublelift was told that Sword Art was not happening at all and that the deal was going bad. Then he asked to explore other options, and Andy said, you have to commit or we will find an ADC that will. And that's why Doublelift said no. So that's even a bit of a more of a twinge of the entire thing. And she goes on to explain in several messages across the TSM official Discord some things that, maybe shouldn't be said publicly, but here we are talking about it publicly. So to sum it all up, it's a lengthy one. If you guys watch through all the clips and you read through all the Reddit posts, and I'm sure we're not going to be done talking about this, you got 3 different people saying three different things. Doublelift saying, hey, I hate you, TSM. I hope you never win again. But also, I don't have to like you guys for us to have a mutually beneficial relationship when it comes time for making each other money. Reggie then says, hey, here's an explanation of everything that happened. There was no malintent, and here is exactly why we made these choices, and apparently your teammates and coaches agreed to those choices, and by the way, we're going to work on ways of parting ways with you. And very lastly, Leena, right there in the middle, is saying, it's not his side, it's also not his side, here's what maybe happened. It's very complex. It's very complicated. Clearly, there are two people out there with some pretty big egos that don't get along, that have two different perceptions of what might have happened in the past, and we'll see what happens in the future with Reggie and Leena and Doublelift and TSM. What do y'all think about it? Pretty spicy way to start the morning, though, huh? Drink some water, drink some coffee. I'll catch you back here sometime soon. Take care.